Hello everyone, it's Small Tummy Wonderful here to talk to you about politics, and believe me, I'm no amazing atheist, but Amazing Atheist once said that our future is fucked up, which I agree with that. And the more I think about it is how New Hampshire, as the New York Times have labeled, how the people at the polls at that point were all mindless zombies, which is true. And I'll tell you what is the deal as to why I'm not doing my gaming as per usual for each time. So here's the downfall. Here's the layup for everything. For one, in one episode of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Donald Trump made a cameo appearance and said, "Everybody blames me for everything," and it's true. And I believe in President Obama's saying about he has faith in us not to vote for Donald Trump. Donald Trump is only in it running for president because he's only after himself. He only wants to make more money. He doesn't have balls, he's just greedy. Any businessman that was on TV called The Apprentice, which that was Trump's show, is that, sure, he can hire other people, but for many reasons is that I think any of you that support Donald Trump are just as brainless as the New Hampshire people, because they don't know what's really going on. And some people say, "Oh, he has balls." I'm sorry. That's just ignorance and that's just stupidity on everybody's part. Donald Trump will basically start World War III. He is, well, worse than George W. Bush 10 years ago. And I kid you not, that guy is dangerous. And I also saw to it that Mitt Romney was a problem too, because he didn't care for the other 50% of U.S. citizens that are homeless and live on welfare. Donald Trump is a very selfish man and a very sexist person. And it's the reason why he's struggling to get any women's vote. But he's certainly, getting support from the neo-Nazis at the South. And plus, Donald Trump sends our history back 100 years back to maybe 1,000 years back when, oh hey, let's all do this because it's cool. Donald Trump is going to put us at World War III because of many reasons why I say this. Because North Korea wants to build nuclear weapons. Russia will keep bombing Syria, which Russia's on the wrong side. Putin is dumb. Whoops, sorry, I just a world leader of Russia, but that's my opinion. Because Putin's a dictator himself and everybody knows it. Commies. And also, ISIS is going to target us all the time because of Trump. I say vote for Bernie Sanders because Bernie Sanders is more of our man to lead the country. It's not because I am so far into democracy of being a Democrat. I believe that everything that's been said about the Republican Party is that they're imploding on itself because the Republican Party isn't what it used to be. Look at the history books, learn from the history books, and look at Theodore Roosevelt. He was a Republican, not like his cousin Franklin D. Roosevelt. So you gotta really think about this. Of course, Franklin did use the containment camps for Japanese people, and poor George Takei had to suffer through that at the age of 5. That's wrong. And also, Donald Trump hates all the minorities. And I don't think that a president should have a bias about any minority or group, regardless. Trump is a mistake waiting to happen. Once war breaks out, or once civil war breaks out in the U.S., once again after, 1864, around the 1860s, and it ends around 1864. Think about how ethical and how democratic, or just simply how another civil war might sound. Think about that for a moment. Because I'm telling you truth. Because we need to focus on our own problems. Of course, I still think ISIS is a problem, but I don't think we should immediately go to war. And I think a lot of the American people have fallen because they have become what we call warmongers, like George W. Bush's office. But also, the reason why George W. Bush got 8 years in the office is because of his brother Bush Jeb. Sorry, that's the truth. Look in the history books. Plus, I'll tell you this much. I like Jeb Bush more than Donald Trump. Donald Trump is like, how do we say, oh, I got money, I got loads of it. And I was like, you declared bankruptcy 4 times, buddy. You're a broke man that thinks, oh, I'm entitled to be a president. And the Comedy Central roast of Donald Trump, he even said he was going to be running for president. And it's like, oh, sorry, we don't want a sexist pig in office that sends our history back into the dark ages when we were like that. Learn from the past mistakes and don't let it happen again. We don't need concentration camps for Muslims, and we certainly will not be paying Mexico for a wall, because Donald Trump will be making a Great Wall, of Beijing, but this time it's like in the Russia part of Germany where the Berlin Wall once stood. That's history. Do you want that repeated? Do you want a wall around Mexico and America that connects to it? Here's the given fact. Mexico doesn't have enough money to make that wall. And I tell you this because that's truth. Because a lot of poor Mexicans would do anything to earn a peso. Sorry, I'm an equalist. I'm a person that believes all equal rights should go to every human being. But we need to think about how can we solve other people's problems without much bloodshed. And also, the fact that how wars are not won by people that, oh, let's go to war and stuff. You have to strategize who makes the first move first. Once they show hostile intention and they come after us or our allies, that's when war should be given. It's a diplomatic approach to it, but I do not support war. War is bad. Many people die, many animals die, and nature gets destroyed in the process. So that's polluting. Those are politics from a citizen. And I might be 26 years old, but I know a damn worth more politics than anybody else. Because I don't believe corruption should be happening in the White House with the representatives, House of State, or mainly the president, which, here's the fact about the VP and the president. Those are just executive branches in the government. The judicial court has more control over. So basically, one of the houses represents more power than the execs. People can blame Obama for a lot of things, but he's just an executive. Take it up with the higher-ups besides the President of the United States. Because Ulysses S. Grant, after the Civil War and after Abraham Lincoln was killed, Ulysses S. Grant became more of a puppet. And that's not how I saw it. I read it. Of course, it could be somebody else's opinion, but I am not kidding. This is all serious stuff. And also, Donald Trump will make the lower class people suffer more, and all the welfare and special needs will go down the toilet, and there will be no low class or middle class. There'll only be the higher class. So, Amazing Atheist says that our current present is screwed up. Our current future is not looking so well right now. Because I think it's wrong what goes on in the Middle East. But even before the Taliban invaded Iraq and Afghanistan, everybody during the 50s and 60s during that time, the Middle Easterns were actually getting better education, and actually the women had more rights. So that was great. It was like the 1920 boom over there. But as soon as the Taliban invaded, that's when everything went back. That's why they went strictly masks. But Donald Trump is already causing enough trouble as it is at the polls. Germany is thinking about reviving the Nazi power of Hitler. Of course, if you look at Rome's already bankrupt, and they call their neo-Nazi group the Golden Dawn. Sorry, but if you really think a war will solve everything, no. No jobs would be created. I'd much rather go with Bernie Sanders' plan of having a diplomatic new job search, or making more jobs created. And hopefully, the United States of America gets a better rating in health coverage, because I tell you, we were like in the 30th place range, but now we're in last place. America is not good anymore. America has fallen on the inside. If any of you have taken notice, and it's not the president's fault, it's the government's fault. You have to really think about that. It's like when Richard Milhouse Nixon was still alive, and he was our president at the time. He was the 37th president. Nixon was involved in the Watergate scandal, and that affected his reputation. It ruined him. And that made us, the people, doubt the government, and we haven't been able to trust the government since then. But some of us have seemed to taken good time and effort to actually care what the government says now, and we're starting to trust the government. That's a no. And the reason why I say that is because they can do all kinds of stuff to screw us over in the end. And who knows, our civil rights might be taken away at some point. And it makes me angry. It makes me furious. And of course, I don't really like anything that revolves around politics, but I figure I'd put my 2 cents in. Whether I make enemies or not, is that there are certain people that need to be worthy. George W. Bush Jr. was just nothing more than a frat boy that got drunk all the time and only scored D's and C's. That's not worth our time. Plus, he made the Crusades happen again, after centuries later, when the Crusades was good at that time when Britain was fighting the Middle East. But we Americans, we have, ever since that time, George W. Bush has made us a hated country and our petty health system. It's a joke. And I'm sorry, but everyone that's in the third world communist countries, they all hate us. And also, we kind of don't have any more culture because, well, everybody wants to be an American. Of course, Michael Moore has made a point about the Horatio Alger myth, which that myth needs to die. I don't mind anybody of the immigrants trying to come over here. It's just I got a problem with drug cartels. But I'm not going to talk about the drug cartels. But I tell you, it started with George W. Bush Jr. I actually like his old man more, but I don't think George W. Bush was the greatest president, and I even dislike all of his policies. A lot of the politics involved was nothing more than deceit too much deceit. And I am telling you that those who support Trump are nothing more than misogynistic idiots with that are retarded limp dicks who can't even do it right. They don't even know who's right. You can keep, if you voted for Obama, you can complain. If you did not vote, please shut your mouth. Because everyone has the right to complain, but you have to vote in order to complain. I'm a Christian, but I believe that Trump is too extreme. Plus, he's getting the radical Republicans so stirred up. And I'm telling you, ever since the Civil War, everybody has been this way. Racism still goes on, and I hate racism. And more importantly, some parts of the South, some black Americans can't even vote down south. I love if you really think about it, we're all equal because we were created by God and God loves us all. God wants us to get along. But nobody seems to get that big picture. Everybody says, oh, God hates Muslims, God hates veterans, and all this other shit involved. It's like, really? Really? You're really gonna go that far? My cousin fought in the last war 10 years ago. Actually, that was 12 years ago. And I didn't want him to go at all. He only just got married, right? And I still believe in the notion of the Bible is that it's the man's job to keep the wife happy, especially if they're newlyweds. And they were married. Oh, they're still married. It's just 2 months later after their marriage is that he gets sent to war. That was heartbreaking. And it's all thanks to George W. Bush. Jeb Bush is alright, but him helping George W. Bush cheat wasn't alright. Plus, Jeb was ashamed of his brother's campaign and his office. That's a given truth. But considering all of these facts to take into good detail is that you gotta think about it. You mustn't think about Trump right now. You can say the last couple of terms of Obama and the Republicans. The Republicans are to blame because they want Obama to fail. And they are all in it for themselves. It's all about me, 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 me. They're narcissistic idiots. And it's thanks to Bush with the neocon Christians. But anyway, considering and after these details is that we need to move on. We cannot think about Trump right now. We have to think about Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton, the ones that actually would help, if you think about it. Bernie Sanders isn't a one-issue person. Bernie will make things better. I don't know for a fact, but Bernie is Jewish, and I have no problem with that. Bernie is like Adam Sandler, except for he's more serious, no telling jokes. But Bernie is the man. And also, during the Clinton years, I didn't really think about the issues back then. But who cares if he got a blowjob by Monica Lewinsky? We have to think about these in certain details. Clinton gave us a surplus. He played money. It's just those Republicans were out to get him about the sexual scandals. And that's not alright. Clinton and Monica were actually Miss Lewinsky were betrayed by the country. The more you think about it, it is true. They were betrayed by their own country. America isn't what it used to be. One, America is all about, oh, you gotta work hard for your health care insurance. Second of all, they're all about themselves. It's not about family matters. It's all about them. And you have to think about it. Think deep back in the past, long and hard, when we didn't have all these problems. I think it'd be better when it was during the 70s and 80s when we didn't have to worry about after the matter of the civil rights movement. I would have liked to live there because there wasn't all that much problems. Presidents I do approve of are Theodore Roosevelt, his cousin Franklin, Abraham Lincoln, and basically Jimmy Carter, JFK. Those were all good presidents. And all that. And Bill Clinton. Those are good presidents. And nobody seems to see past that. If you want to learn something, learn from history, learn from the past. And I am not kidding. Donald Trump doesn't care about us as Americans. He doesn't care about the poor people. He doesn't care about the homeless. He doesn't care about those who are disabled. He's only in running for president as a joke, because he is a joke, because he thinks he can make more money and put more money in his pocket. That's selfish. Because you gotta think about it long and hard. And also for those people who live in the north of just basically the northern states. A lot of you can say that you're Republican, but you gotta think about it. California, Washington, those are blue states. If you want it, here's my opinion. You want to see where your opinions matter? Move to a southern state where it does count. Or better yet, move to a third world country where you're silenced permanently. Of course, one of my friends said if you want to have no rights or opinion, move to there. Of course, she's great, and that's where I got the idea. So, you gotta think about it. And America is also sort of like 1984, George Orwell's book. You want something like that? Have fun. You vote for Trump, you're going to ruin the country further. Those who vote for him are going to ask for 1984, plus a dictator, plus a knockoff of Hitler. So don't send our history back into the 30s or the 40s when World War II went around. Please think about it long and hard. Be more of the Democrat side. Vote for Bernie Sanders or vote for Hillary. I don't care. Whether you're my friend or my enemy, you have a decision to make, and it's going to be a big one, because this one rocks the world. Because just about every country, including Russia, are all nuking up, and it's going to be another Cold War. Plus, then there's the gangsters in America, plus the ones that love our country so much as civilians. There's going to be a civil war, and it's going to be somebody's fault, and such. So, you got that to think about on your conscience. So you got to decide. Whose side are you on, and who are your enemies? Because, to be honest, I don't like those people that say, oh, Trump's the man. He's not. He's going to put us through too many wars, and guess what? Civil war. Because I've said this about Mitt Romney, and I'm definitely saying it about possibly Jeb or Trump, is that they're the Antichrist, and they only want to make more money. No jobs will be created. We'll have no thought. We'll be all just a collective consciousness. Like in Metal Gear Rising? Yeah. That's Stephen Armstrong. You gotta think about it. Otherwise, Anonymous, which I support Anonymous, by the way, and it's good for them that they've declared war on ISIS. Give them hell. Give Trump hell. And please, don't say any more about Obama. Sure, Obama's made a few mistakes, but Donald Trump's just gonna be waiting to be impeached later as he becomes president. But hey, he's like, oh, counting his money because he made so much money as president? And believe me, when you're a president of the United States, you get more money. But, let's see here. The presidents I've mentioned were for the little guy. Nobody has been sticking up for the little guy. Everybody has, like George W. Bush, he's been on top of the fucking world and blew all our surplus money on those two wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. So, thank you. Way to waste our surplus money. Thank you for getting us off the United Nations and the Kyoto Protocol. Thank you for ruining America. And also, yeah, think about it. I mean, Donald Trump is just a rich, snobby brat that thinks he's entitled to do that. So, that's all I got to say about it. And, believe me, once the world crisis happens and he's president for 8 years, guess what? Everybody's going to blame him. Everybody's going to blame him for everything. So, we as the people of America, we have fallen so far that we have to really get our head out of our asses and actually start thinking how to preserve the environment, how to preserve our own integrity, and more importantly, become better self-sustaining human beings, and basically regrow trees. Be a hippie from the 60s and the 70s, or be a beatnik. Embrace nature. Because I swear, I am running out of hope for America. I'm running out of hope for those who live in America and those who support Trump, because they're not hot, and it's not cool. That's how I feel about it. That's my opinion, and I know my opinion matters still before I lose it. If you vote for Bernie or Hillary, I'll have better respect for everybody in America, and I might just have a changed opinion, and I might have hope in God that God will save America and every other country. So this is Small Timmy Wonderful signing out, hoping you have a nice weekend, and please, hateful messages aren't going to get you anywhere. I'll just ignore them or delete them. So, later.